you doing?
Good. Coach.
How's it going, man? All right. Good to see everybody. Thank you. Thank you for coming out today. First of all, of course, I want to say I appreciate you guys coming out, and certainly a lot of things going on this weekend, not just the start of spring ball. Certainly want to give a shout out to all the sports that had so many important events this past week. Coach Graves, women's basketball, again, knocking out the Pac-12 title. Awesome to watch. And Coach Altman in men's basketball as well. 2 really big games in a row. Saw baseball. Coach Horton had a sweep. Caught a bit of the acro and tumbling as well because my kids were trying to make me do that at home. And the battle that they had against Baylor, I thought that was really great to watch as well. So a really busy weekend. At the same time, we had a clinic up at Portland, the Nike Coaches Clinic, the Coach of the Year clinic. So I had a chance to spend a lot of time with some of the in-state coaches as well as some of the coaches that came from out of state. And on top of that, the NFL Combine going on with our guys participating over there. And then the hiring, of course, of Coach Avalos. And since we haven't gone together in a long time, important to note some of the other hirings that we have had. So certainly a very busy, exciting, a lot of energy, a lot of juice surrounding the program and some of the changes and a lot of the other positive stuff that's going on. So certainly we're looking forward to getting on that field on Saturday. We pushed it back a couple days to try to make sure that our defense was installed enough to be able to go ahead and run what we need to and have a productive couple of sessions before we head out to spring break. So we will start on Saturday, and we will have a practice on Saturday, then the following Monday, Wednesday, and Friday as well. I got that wrong, excuse me. We will have our 5 practices before headed out to spring break and continue along the path. But well, that being said, of course, Coach Bo Knight as well. We know him as Coach Bo. Join us as our wide receivers coach. Extremely excited about him as well. I'll get into all the coaches as you guys ask questions. Another significant move, Bobby Williams will be coaching tight ends as well as the special teams duties, which he currently has. Important because Bobby was such a important piece at the former place we were at as a tight ends coach as well as a special teams coach, and we feel that being an area of expertise for him could help us become a better program. And really excited to get these families into town as well. I mean, these families certainly during this time of year when a coach makes a move, they always bring them back to like they're the last leg in the 4x1. Everything gets moved and they come up at the end. We're looking forward to getting him here. But between him, Coach Wilson, who we hired from Washington State a little while back, Kenny Sanders coming from Penn State and also from the NFL to serve as our director of recruiting. A couple guys joining in our strength staff, Jeff Eaton, who joins us from Purdue, and Coach Reed Kagi, who joins us from Iowa State, and then a couple of other graduate assistants and quality control personnel guys that we cannot mention until they're completely hired, but we'll certainly update you on that when that does come around. But also want to mention, let's open up the questions and then we'll roll into some of the other stuff that certainly want to get into. So with that being said.
You just talked about pushing back just so guys are able to work on the install of that defense. Just how much different is this going to be looking this season with the new coordinator? Well,
the thing that really got us fired up about Coach Avalos and his scheme was that they're so multiple. They can go from the odd front to the 4 down to the bare front. There's some stem involved, a lot of movement, a lot of pressure, very aggressive. The back end is very tied into what you do up front in terms of disguise as well as its coverages. So it takes, it'll take a little bit of time, but not too much more. There'll be some overlap concepts. And I think anytime you make a change schematically, there's always some overlap, and there is some overlap terminology. But I would say a lot of the stuff that we're going to be doing is going to be new to these guys. We do have a very intelligent group of guys that are all about, academics and football. So we think that the couple of extra days provided is going to be more than enough to get them ready for a real good practice on Saturday and a great start to spring ball in general.
Coach, what was your thinking behind making a change at defensive coordinator?
Well, I think anytime that there is a change, and I'm sure in college football we see it all the time, any and all things that transpire in a program are for the betterment of the program and its players. And that's certainly the case here in anything that we do, past, present, and future. So we have a great opportunity, to continue to evolve as a program. In this particular case, as a defense. So our guys, our coaches, we're really excited about the situation.
Front left, Matt.
I know in conference play, maybe last year, your defensive stats maybe took a little bit step back from 2017. How much can Andy address that? And looking at his defense, they seem to be pretty good in a lot of areas in conference play.
No doubt. I think when you look at the way that they attack the quarterback, affecting the quarterback in this league is very important because typically the better teams in this league have an outstanding quarterback, an all-star player, a game changer, and a difference maker. So getting after the quarterbacks at a premium, Andy certainly brings that to the table. Also, extended drives, third down production for us is something that we want to improve on as well. And due to the fact they were really good on third down, getting the defense off the field, which in essence is a turnover. That's an area on both sides of the ball that we want to improve upon. But as we address the defense, that's something that we're looking for as well. And then forcing turnovers, getting the ball back. It's really about the ball. I think he's been part of a great culture for a long time. All the respect in the world for the program that he's from, how they do things, the expectations that they set for their players, the regiment, the structure. There's certainly a lot of similarities to some of the things that they have done and some of the things that we do. So I think when you combine those things and at the same time how disruptive they can be on first and second down, causing better third down situations, all lead to just an opportunity to be really effective, not only in the green zone, the red zone, but just overall defensively.
On the right, Ryan.
Mario, why didn't it work out with Jim long term? And also, did you strongly consider Keith to elevate Keith for this position?
I think Keith is. I need to start by saying he's an unbelievable coach and person, and certainly a decision like this. These things are always hard, but the decision comes down to how can we get the best five guys together. You almost look at it like, all right, when you're putting together your offensive line, okay, how are you going to get your five best players together? Gosh, all these guys are really, really good, but how does it fit? Well, Keith, and it's obvious just to talk about because you look at a guy like Ugo Amadi, right? Lombardi Award winner. Certainly a big influence on him has been Keith. He's extremely impactful. He is extremely valued, and he's a big part of this equation as well. He assumes also assistant head coaching duties, which, already as a co-coordinator here, he had some pretty significant duties. And in terms of changing college football, it is what it is. Changes are made. People move on, and I think it's as simple as that. I think there's nothing more to it, and nothing ever will be more to it than the betterment of the program, because every single decision is always going to be about the betterment of the program and its people.
Front middle, James.
All right, to follow on the Keith bit, can you break down exactly what assistant head coach means when he's not the DC and not the play caller, for one? Two, with the scheme fit of Andy, and you said multiple, it's 3-4 in base, but for somebody who emphasize the line of scrimmage as much as you do, they ran a lot of 1 and 2 down linemen. That clearly can work in that league. Even in a passing league like this, when you're aspiring to eventually take on far more physical powers nationally, why do you think a 1 and 2 down at times scheme will help you do that, and playing with 4 and 5 and 6 linebackers and DBs? Well,
you want to match personnel. They come in trotting in with 7 offensive linemen. We're probably going to have 7 defensive linemen in there. So his ability to dissect and match personnel is what was really impressive to us. A great example is when we played Boise. It was as diverse as being in an odd front pre-snap, a quick stem, and all of a sudden they are in 4 down. And the use of the stud backer in their particular scheme is it's a little bit more of a hybrid than what we have used. These guys are true defensive end body types that could put their hand in the ground as well. And when you look at guys like Lamar Winston, you look at guys like DJ Johnson, guys like Adrian Jackson, Kayvon Thibodeau. These guys are athletic guys that can bring a lot of heat off the edge, but are also strong enough to blunt a tackle or a tight end and be able to hold their ground and constrict the C gap or the B gap respectively. So the scheme is pretty diverse, and I wouldn't in any way, shape, or form just label it one or the other. It's because of our personnel. We do have one really big nose tackle and a couple of other guys that have played nose tackle, but we also have a lot of 3 and 2I body types on our roster. And for us to continue to get better, we have to maximize the use of our personnel, right? Because part of it is talent acquisition, then it's player development, and then personnel use. We think that has to be a huge part of it. Not to mention the fact that, you know, Coach Wilson and his experience at Washington State, you know, really has some unique wrinkles that can help a guy like Troy Dye continue to be one of the more prominent players in the conference. And when you lose, gotta think of it, this past year we had arguably the two of the most disruptive players in the conference, right? When you look at Jalen Jelks and you look at Justin Hollins, okay? And when you look at Ugo Amadi, you look at one of the best players in college football, right? That's per the Lombardi Award. So to be able to make up for that and at the same time to be able to advance as a defense, the critical statistics mentioned earlier, we've got to be able to present the offense with ID issues, movement issues, and structural issues. In other words, complexity for the opponent, simplicity for us on the defensive side of the ball. So I know it's a long answer, but I guess the best way to put it is if you look at our personnel right now and the guys that have been used in the odd and in the 4 down front, you'll see some of those guys used in some similar spots, but you'll also see the addition of, you know, like you mentioned, a speed package where a Gus Cumberlander is playing inside, you know, and he's coupled by a Lamar outside or an Adrian outside or a Kayvon outside. So we're going to mix and match personnel as we need to as per opponent.
Second row on the left, Eric.
I guess just overall health of the team, anybody you know will be out for spring, and then question on just how the freshmen that are on campus have kind of integrated themselves so far.
Yeah, spring ball, you know, Throck's going to be out, although he's healing up really well. Great story on him. The other day we had snow here, which I didn't know that was almost like a crisis in town, right, whenever it snows. But my man Throck, the car wasn't budging, so he decided to walk a mile over here on his injured leg. But he's way ahead of schedule. He's looking great, but he will not participate. Neither will Sam Patasi. He's coming off of surgery. Gary Baker will probably miss about half of spring ball due to an ankle injury. We should have him for the second half of spring ball. Austin Falio would be, by the end of week 1, will be a full-speed player for us as well. We're kind of bringing him along. He tweaked his knee, but nothing too serious. Cale Millen had a foot injury while he was training. Nothing significant, but we'll ease him into week 1. By week 2, he should be good to go. And then Justin Johnson, he had surgery during the course of the season on his shoulder. He will be no contact for most of spring. So he'll be involved in just about everything. We'll be wearing a red jersey. But he'll participate as much as he's allowed to medically. On top of that, I think, you know, Adam Stack will bring him along. He still has had, you know, some issues with the hernia and whatnot, but he is getting better. On a side note, in a good way, Cam McCormick comes back to us full speed and has been participating in the 4th quarter program and looks great. Overall, that tight end group looks really, really good. Same thing for Jake Breland, Ryan Bay, Hunter Campmoyer, you know, Spencer Webb. So we'll be at full force at tight end, which will be nice. We miss Cam during the course of the season. And then in terms of the freshmen that are in here, Kayvon Thibodeau's here, Jimon Eford, Kale, Drew Mathis, Big Salah, and Josh Delgado have been here, and they got a full-fledged dose of the 4th quarter program, which they thoroughly enjoyed. Not really, but they've endured, and they've done more than that. They've pressed themselves to attack it as opposed to just survive it. And I think the reason they've done so, they've had a lot of support and great leadership by the older guys, because that's a tough deal now. When you come into a program like this, these guys have done it before. You keep hearing the 4th quarter program, how tough it is. It's kind of off-season program that pushes back. These guys attacked it, and they've excelled. And without a doubt, all these guys are in the mix for playing time. And it's going to show in the rep count that they have. In a couple of weeks, we'll be joined also by Micah Pittman, Cam Lewis, Patrick Herbert, and also Mikkel Wright. So they'll be able to participate in our final 10 days of spring ball, as well as just join into the off-season conditioning program there as well. So the quarter system is still a little bit different, right? It's very advantageous for returning players. It puts incoming freshmen a little bit of a disadvantage if they can't come till June. But if you could come in January or if you could come in April, it's a pretty nice situation for them. And all in all, we'll have 10 guys of our class of 26 guys that'll be able to participate with us. And you know, the goal every single year is to have anywhere between 9, 12, 15 of those guys here on campus.
AJ?
Well, Eric stole my question but I'll shift gears here. Last year, obviously, some big improvements in lots of areas with the team. Taking a step back and looking at the team heading into 2019, what are the areas that are going to take this team to the next level?
Yeah. Well, overall, we hit the restart button. So, and you look at all the critical, statistical data that says where can we make a jump? Okay, where's the meat that we left on the bone? Third down has to continue to get better, without question. Explosive plays on both sides of the ball. On one side, it has to be increased. On the other side, it has to be reduced. We've got to force more turnovers. We definitely gave up the ball a few more times that we wanted to. Ball security really improved as the year went on. Credit to those running backs. They didn't put on the ground after that. From a special team standpoint, and I'm going to jump around, I understand that, but our coverage teams and ball placement has to get significantly better. And fundamentals and technique has to be at the forefront of everything we do in spring ball, always with toughness and culture. But the ball placement, something that really hurt us both on kickoff and on our punt team. So there's going to be an extraordinary amount of time spent on that as well. Being able to go a little faster on offense is something that we're going to focus on. We want to stop the run better, and we want to run the ball better. We're not going to be satisfied until that thing says 1-1 on both sides of the fence, as it relates to the conference. And when we look at statistical data, we break it down as an entire season. We break it down as it relates to conference play, okay? Because at the end of the day, the conference play is the most important stuff. And we like to see where we stack up with the rest of the conference in all those games. So those are a couple things that stand out. We certainly want to be more efficient throwing the football. We had a significant amount of drops that you don't point a finger at anybody, whether it be a tight end, receiver, running back, quarterback. You coach it better, you teach it better. You get in there, you work at it harder, you get on the jugs machine and you fix it. And as that relates to anything that we're talking about, I think the most important thing is I get the chance to come up here and talk, but that it always goes back to it's about the players, and as players and as coaches, the things that we highlight are things and areas of improvement, things to work on, not picking points. You know what I mean? And we make that a real strong and clear statement so our guys understand that through and through.
Rob, on the left.
You touched on it there at the end, but just the receiver group with a new coach, new personnel. What do you want to see from that group in spring?
It starts with discipline and alignment, discipline and assignment, route running, making sure that, a hitch is a hitch. And if it's at 5 yards, if it's at 4 yards, it's precise. If it's a route that's relates more to steps as it does to distance or a landmark, that we're doing precisely that. That landmarks on the field means something. If #+2 means #+2. Bend versus cover 2 means bend it versus cover 2. Drop out versus soft coverage means do that. So the discipline of that, as simple as the technical stuff as arm violence when you're running a route, how all routes should look the same. You should never be able to tell whether a guy's running a go route or a hitch route. Our releases and escapes, we can't allow teams to play us in man coverage and take away our RPOs and be able to take away some of the more vertical stuff and really disrupt the timing of the passing game. So I think that's important. I think Coach Bo and a couple of guys that we've added on staff, Jonathan Krause has done a great job as a graduate assistant, but Coach Bo certainly has made a strong statement in the short time he's been here. And we've also hired an analyst who joins us from Southern Cal as well, Prentice Gill, who is outstanding football mind that helps a bunch. So, certainly we're excited about the direction of that room and the things that we can do. And not to mention there's some really great talent coming in here. Some of it's here already, some of it's coming in 2 weeks, and then the rest coming in the summer.
When you guys started this process for hiring the defensive coordinator, when did Andy get on your radar for this? Was it somebody that you had locked in on from the start, or was it somebody who came in and blew you guys away?
Well, we had interviewed a lot of guys who went at every level. Our research, our process is real thorough. There's no hey, I know this guy, or I know that guy, I work with him, or someone told me he was good. We don't hire friends and acquaintances. We hire people that are the best for the program. And it starts with a lot of things now, okay? And before I get to that part, I want to say it starts with you got to be a great person, first and foremost. You got to be a great person. You got to be all about the players. You got to do things the right way on and off the field. Because if you can't do that, you can't be part of this program, period. Okay. Second of all, we're looking for a guy that had a tremendous amount of knowledge tying in the back end to the front seven. Okay. It's all about being able to see how all the pieces fit and that you're not leaving your nose open on one side because you're overplaying another side. And that to me is very important, being an offensive coach. Okay. And when you're teaching this stuff, you've got to be a clear and concise teacher that can connect, and you have to have a presence. Doesn't matter how much a guy knows. We've seen a lot of guys come through here at all levels. Could talk, talk so make your head spin around like in some of those movies, and that has nothing to do with anything. Can a guy tie it all together? Does he have answers to the things that we face in this conference, right? The RPO game, the quarterback runs, tempo offense. The teams that get 21 personnel, like lining up in a YY wing set, knocking out that C gap and taking advantage of a 4-eye, knock them in the next week. Or base blocking that and slipping that fullback to block your boundary corner, right? Those are the things that we look for, and that's something we take a deep dive into. These are the schematical things we want to address. These are the questions that we're going to have. Talk to me about how you address it, how you scheme it, the specs for the players that you look for, how you plan it during the week, assignment-wise, how you do it with each and every single coach. It's a pretty extensive interview now. It goes on and on and on. And then we watch film together. And we're very critical as we're watching, particular candidates' film and have us go through everything. Teach me as if I'm a freshman. Talk to me about the outside linebacker he's taking on power O. Why is he boxing this instead of spilling? They're in cover 4. Wow, so we'll put them through a series of questions to see if what they're talking to us about matches their film. You know what I mean? And then we'll also pull out our film and go through it and see and it's not a deal breaker, but see if there's any overlap as to the positive stuff that we like to keep. Or if there's anything in there that pops up where I have a remedy for this, or I don't understand why this is going on, So we'll also get into recruiting, of course. The guy has to be a strong recruiter. I think the day and age of having coaches that just coach and other guys that just recruit, I think that's out the window. And maybe I'm wrong. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying that your most important recruits are the ones in the building. So your ability to connect and have relationships with your players that command respect, that demand accountability, that are demanding without ever being demeaning, those things are at the forefront of everything. There's no head faking in this stuff. There's not. So when I say that this process, and we had the entire organization involved, we were filling up those seats as guys came through. We were very particular and meticulous throughout the entire process. And what Andy did to knock it out the park is that his presence as a teacher, his ability to articulate, the defense, the answers that go with it from the front to the back will really stick out. Guys have to have rules. That's important to me. If it's one thing that was always driven into my head as a football player at the University of Miami, as a coach at Alabama, was the what, the how, and the why. What are we doing? How are we doing it? And why are we doing it that way? And every single person in the organization has to know those things. Because if he's just doing something, he doesn't know how to do it, the hat's on the wrong side, he's taking the wrong angle, and he doesn't know why we're doing it because there's a safety running an alley outside of him and he's got support out there so he could, spill the guy to the safety, then it doesn't work out. So sorry about the rant, but I think you know where I'm coming from here. It's a very complete and thorough interview. Andy is, I'm looking forward to meeting his family. Like, his family is dying to get over here to Eugene. I think that's important. Coach Bo's wife is from Oregon. She has family down in Rosebrook, so they were out there yesterday. It was great to meet her and meet one of their baby boys, little Breeze. He was hanging out with us the other day. But I think all those things are critical in this whole thing. And then Andy's familiarity with the West Coast and being a California guy, having played several teams in the Pac-12 as well, crossover professional development situations that go with that. He's just been around. He's been around. He's seen it, and the culture at Boise State is impressive. So he did a great job.
Front left, Matt. We got time for two more, Matt and Austin.
On the offensive side of the ball, how much you talked about the drops and how much they were, if you just maybe caught like a quarter of those, how much of the narrative you think of this offense would have changed if you can just execute that?
Well, we're gonna tab it up for you, and because you do, but you don't want to, You remember when you're in high school and a guy like dives for a ball and it hits his fingertip, and the coach says, "You touched the ball, you should have caught it." And you're like, "All right, really?" Well, we don't count those as particularly as drops. We of course accentuate and try to really encourage effort. But what we're going to do with as a teaching moment is count up the number of drops and the yards that goes with it, and what that means. Not only in terms of yardage and production, but what that means in terms of third down and keeping the chains moving, right, and keeping drives alive. So, but it's pretty significant, and it's not a secret. It's an issue, but it's not an issue from a determination, work ethic standpoint, or want to standpoint. We've got to technically teach our guys how to be efficient and precise in catching the football, putting it away, and making something happen after they catch it. So I think Coach Bo is going to do a great job with that. I'm excited to see Coach Wilson, and everything that he's going to be doing with our linebackers in terms of technique, in terms of fundamentals, in terms of teaching eye discipline, how it relates to the keys that they have to be focused on, right? In a league full of RPOs, in a league full of open sets that demand so much of those inside linebackers, teaching at that position is critical. And at the same time, the other part, I can't mention enough is Keith Hayward. I mean, his influence and his impact on this program has been tremendous. I don't want to let that get lost at all. In this conference today, this guy he is such a valued member, an important member of the program, and he's very involved and will be more so involved in some of the heavy decisions that we make as a program. And I look forward to his continued development as well, because he's done some great things and he's on his way to some more.
Mario, to go back to what you were saying at the very beginning about change of defensive coordinator being for the betterment of the program, how does this make you better? Is it schematic? Is it the chemistry of your staff? Where do you see that improvement happening?
Well, you know what? Whenever you make a change, you like to see betterment in every single phase possible. So I think every single change is geared towards that. And, we feel real strong about the person that's going to be at the defensive coordinator position. His use of personnel, his ability to develop other staff members. We see this thing as a big time hire and a plus for everyone.
Thank you, Coach.
You good? You want to sneak one more in there? Go ahead, man. Get it in. Because there's.
Can you elaborate on him a little bit?
Mention one more time. Oh, Prentice Gill. Yes. He'll be serving as an offensive analyst. What I wanted to do was try to get all the analyst hires and the GA hires together because they're not complete yet. I hate to chop it up where you're getting one GA one day, another GA another day, and whatnot. But Prentice is a Southern Cal guy who, and meeting him throughout some of the process of some of these interviews, which we interviewed a lot of people for a lot of different positions. Our department organizationally is growing. The flow chart is getting bigger. And he was a guy that I thought just had a really just deep knowledge, tremendous presence just as a wide receiver coach. A guy that I think he certainly had a positive impact where he was before. So we felt it was important to get him on board with us, hire him. And he's been great to be around. A lot of juice, a lot of energy. His role is different now. He can't be on the field coaching. But certainly in the staff room and some of the things he's brought to the table have been excellent. So we're fired up about him.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.